So, this happened a few months back, and I still get chills thinking about the Snapchat message from the person in the back seat, even though I swore I was alone in the car. I was driving home from work late one night, really tired. It was one of those nights where you just want to get home, eat some pizza, and forget about everything. I had stopped for gas at a station that was pretty deserted, and I remember thinking that I should have gone to the one closer to town, but I was already there, so I figured I'd just get my gas and go. Now, my phone's battery was about to die. So, between getting gas and paying for it, I quickly sent a Snapchat to my friend to let her know I was on my way. The snap was just a picture of the gas pump, nothing crazy. Then, I got back in my car and drove off. I'd only been driving for about 10 minutes when I felt this strange sensation, like someone was watching me. It's probably a normal feeling, right? I mean, you think you're alone in your car driving around at night, but that just makes you paranoid. I just kept telling myself it was my imagination. But then, I got this weird notification on my phone. It was a Snapchat from my friend, but it wasn't the reply I was expecting. It was a picture, a selfie, of someone in the backseat of my car. The photo was blurry, but you could see a skinny, pale guy with oily, dark hair looking straight at the camera. And he was smiling. It wasn't just a normal smile. It was unsettling, like a creepy smile from a horror movie. My phone was almost out of battery, so I couldn't really think straight. I just kept thinking, how is this even possible? My phone was in my pocket. I was driving alone. I was terrified. I was freaking out. My hands were sweating, and I could barely keep my eyes on the road. I wanted to pull over, but I was too scared to. I felt frozen. I just kept driving. The worst part? The Snapchat message had a caption. It just said, "Thanks for the ride." So, I pulled over at the next gas station I saw, hoping there would be people around, and that's when I saw him. He was standing outside the gas station, just watching me walk towards the door. He was the same guy from the Snapchat, skinny and pale with greasy, dark hair. He was staring, but he wasn't smiling anymore. He just seemed bored. I went inside and got some coffee, pretending to be cool and collected. But I was terrified. The next time I looked outside, he was gone. The rest of the drive home was a blur. I kept thinking about that Snapchat message and the guy in my back seat. Couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it. I did some research and got some more information about the guy. This was the part that creeped me out the most. There were local news reports, not recent though, about this guy who'd been causing trouble in the area, always around gas stations trying to get rides. People had been seeing him, and he was known for being creepy and having some kind of bizarre fascination with people's back seats. He had been linked to some attempted kidnappings and a couple of other messed up incidents. He'd been arrested, but he only served a short sentence and then was released. But he hadn't changed. He just kept doing what he was doing, just getting rides and doing who knows what. That guy, the one who I saw, was that guy. That creepy, sinister guy from the news reports. I still get chills when I think about it. And I always keep my phone charged now. I got lucky that night. I don't know what he intended to do, but I'm glad I got away. So, it all started with a Tinder date, right? I met this girl online, seemed cool, and we decided to meet up for some drinks after talking for a while. We planned to meet at this pub near the university. I was a little nervous, hadn't been on a date in a while, but I thought, what's the worst that could happen? Anyways, I get to the pub and I'm early, so I sit down at the bar and order a beer. A few minutes later, this guy walks in. He looks kind of strange, tall, skinny, pale, with long dark hair that looked like he hadn't washed it in weeks. He walks right past me and sits down at a table in the back, by himself. I didn't think much of it at the time, but looking back, my date, Sarah, shows up a little late, apologized, and said her car had some trouble. The night went pretty well. We talked, we laughed, we had some food, the usual date stuff. The guy in the back was still sitting there by himself, just staring at the wall. He looked like he was really deep in thought, or maybe he was just bored. I didn't really pay attention to him, just focused on Sarah. We decided to split, and Sarah said she was going to meet her friend for a quick drink at another bar. She told me she'd send me a Snapchat later, so we said goodbye. I walked to the bus stop and waited there for the night bus. It was late, almost midnight, and I was starting to get tired. The bus finally comes, and I get on and take a seat in the back. Now, the thing is, this guy from the bar is on the bus too. He's sitting a few rows ahead of me, staring out the window. Again, I didn't think much of it at first. But then, I see him looking back at me in the reflection of the window. He wasn't just looking, he was staring right at me, with this weird, creepy smile on his face. It made me uncomfortable, so I turned my head and tried to ignore him. But I felt like he kept watching me. I took out my phone and checked my Snapchat, hoping for a message from Sarah. And that's when it happened. A message popped up from her, but it wasn't the regular, "Hey, what's up?" kind of message. It was just a single photo. It was a picture of the guy from the bar. He was sitting at the same table we had seen him at, staring straight at the camera. But his eyes were different. They looked empty, like black holes. It sent shivers down my spine. I froze, staring at the photo. I didn't know what to make of it. I was so confused and a bit scared. I looked up to see if the guy was still on the bus, but he was gone. It felt like he had disappeared into thin air. I immediately messaged Sarah back, trying to figure out what was going on. She never answered. I tried calling her, but it went straight to voicemail. My heart sank. Something was clearly wrong. I checked her Snapchat again, but there was nothing. She was completely offline. I got off the bus at my stop, still totally freaked out. I tried calling Sarah again, but nothing. I tried calling her friend, but she didn't know where Sarah was either. I was starting to get worried, and at that point, the guy from the bar was definitely on my mind. The next day, Sarah showed up at my place. She looked exhausted, like she had been through a lot. She told me everything. Apparently, after leaving the bar, she met her friend, but they were both attacked by a group of guys. They got beaten up pretty badly, and Sarah lost her phone during the fight. That's when it hit me. The Snapchat message, the photo, the way that guy disappeared on the bus. It made sense. He wasn't just a random creepy guy at a bar, he was involved. But how? And why? She told me that the police were investigating the attack. They weren't sure what happened to her phone yet. She was still a little shaken up, but she was okay. I'm pretty sure that guy on the bus was the one who sent that Snapchat. I still get chills when I think about it. To this day, I'm not sure exactly what happened that night. All I know is that Sarah and I got lucky, and we both survived a very scary situation. But I'm never going on another blind date again. And I'm definitely staying off Snapchat for a while. So this happened a few months back. I was working the graveyard shift at a gas station on the edge of town. It was a pretty quiet night, just me, the stale air, and the endless cycle of the neon lights. Around 2 a.m., a car pulled up and a guy got out. He was tall and skinny, with greasy hair that was almost black, and his face looked pale, like he hadn't seen the sun in a while. You know, the kind of guy that gives you the creeps just looking at him. He walked up to the counter, and I asked him if he wanted anything. He kind of smiled, you know, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes, and said, "Just a pack of cigarettes." He pulled out a couple of bills, and I noticed he had a ton of cash on him. That's when I learned about his obsession with the Snap. He seemed obsessed with his phone, sending a bunch of Snapchat videos. "Gotta keep the streak going," he said, his voice low and raspy, while filming himself. His snaps were weird, though. They were just random clips of himself in the gas station, stuff like the coffee machine, the candy aisle, even me. He was pretty creepy about it, but I just figured he was harmless. He paid for the cigarettes and went back to his car. I just went back to minding my own business, stacking shelves behind the counter. Then I heard a loud bang. I ran outside. I saw his car was still there, but it was empty. His phone was on the passenger seat. It was still on, and I saw a Snapchat notification. There was a message that popped up on the screen. "On my way to pick you up. Be ready. Don't be late." The message was sent to someone named Sarah. My mind raced. The guy had some kind of weird obsession with Snapchat, but who was Sarah? I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I quickly grabbed the guy's phone and ran back into the gas station. I checked for any clues, maybe an address or something, but there was nothing. Eventually, I just decided the best thing to do was to call the police. The police didn't really believe me. They figured I was just being paranoid, but they still took the phone as evidence. They said they'd look through his phone history and try to find out who Sarah was and where they were headed. I kept thinking about the creepy guy, this crazy Snap obsession, and that ominous message. It gave me the creeps, you know? It wasn't until a few days later that I heard something about it. The news reported a strange incident. There was a missing girl, Sarah something, who disappeared from her house. They said she left a note for her parents and drove away in her car, leaving the engine running. They mentioned the girl was a Snapchat fanatic, and the last message from the girl was, "On my way to pick you up. Be ready. Don't be late." They had no updates on her whereabouts. The police never found the creepy dude either. Whenever I see this Snapchat notification on my phone, I see that message, "On my way to pick you up. Be ready. Don't be late." And it always gives me the shakes, you know? There wasn't much more to it. Nobody knows what happened to Sarah or that creepy guy. The whole thing just kind of disappeared. What I did was, I changed jobs, found a new one in a different town, and the whole situation was like a bad dream. The last snap I sent her was from the back seat of a stranger's car. Yeah, creepy, isn't it?